Hi guys! In today's video we'll be making these cute knee-high boots for dolls. I used a fabric which looked almost like a metallic suede, but you can obviously mix it up and use whatever fabric you like. Because the boots are so high, I added a working zipper to the back of them to make sure that you can get them on and off properly. I'll be making these for my BJD doll, but you can obviously use whatever doll you like, be it Barbie, Monster High, whatever. And as you can see, she's still in the summer mermaid inspired bikini I made for her, so it's about time I make her some autumn clothes. This doll has flat feet, which means I won't be adding much of a heel to my boots, but if you're doing it for a doll that is on her toes, then you can just adjust by making a bigger heel. For the length of the boots, we're going to start with a base of some very thick canvas fabric, and I took a long strip and I wrapped this around the leg and pinned it in place really tight up to the height I wanted it. And then after that I took some fabric chalk and marked out so I could get a proper pattern. Once you've done that, remove the pins and then cut out the pattern. For my fabric, I honestly don't even know what this is. I bought this as a fabric sample once, but it's really soft and nice and makes very nice folds. Cut a strip that is a little wider than our basic piece and a lot longer. Then you're going to start folding and pinning this onto the main piece so we can make these fold fit wherever we want them. I concentrated the majority of the folds down by the ankle because it just adds a bit of dimension and makes the ankle look a little less skinny, and then just added a few on the top. Once you're happy with the placement of all your folds, then you want to flip it over so we can see the basic piece that's pinned to the back, and you want to sew it in place, which will lock in the folds, so you sew up both long sides. Once it's all sewed in place, you want to get out your zipper. If you have a zipper that is long enough to go the entire length of the boots, then by all means you can use that. I didn't have one that was all that long, but it just covered the thinnest part of the leg, which is the most important piece. That's where it would be hard to get the foot through. To attach the zipper, I fold over the excess front fabric and place it up to the side of the zipper and pin it in place. Once you're currently pinned, I go ahead and sew it. Then you want to flip over the other side and pin the zipper there, even though it is a tad harder than the first side. And before you attach it by sewing it, you want to make sure that you can actually open and close the zipper, just so you haven't actually pinned the two sides together. And that's our zipper attached. this point I did a fitting to make sure it would actually go on the leg. Now fold over the top edge and sew it in place to give a nice hem to the top. To close the rest of the boot, you just place the loose sides, right sides together and sew up from the zipper and up to the top. And here's how it's looking on the doll so far. Next, for the bottom part, I'm going to start by tracing out the doll's foot onto a piece of paper. Then I go over the shape again, correcting it and adding more to make it look like an actual boot. I roll out a sheet of polymer clay and then I trace out the shape that we just made for the sole and cut this out. After pre-baking it to harden, I add on more clay on top of the shape in order to build it out to make it look like the actual boot. Because if you look at the shape of a foot, it's not the shape that a boot actually has. The boot is kind of built around it in a bigger shape. So that's the shape we're actually trying to make here. Once you're happy with your boot shape, bake it completely. After baking, I used a file to kind of smooth out around the bottom edge so it sloped in a little bit, so it kind of curves around the bottom. So here's the kind of boot shape I'm going for. I marked off the two pattern pieces I'll be needing with a pencil, and after that I used glue and some crumbled up white paper to kind of make paper mache over those two areas. The reason I'm doing this is that we need something to be like the inner shell that's going to keep the shape we just made for the boot once we put the fabric over it. Because I've tried to make shoes for my BJD dolls before, where I've kind of just used the fabric, and when it's smooth straight out onto the foot and around the toes, you can actually see the indents of the toes through the fabric, and it ends up looking really weird and it just doesn't have the right shape. So that's why we're doing this, because we want something to have a good shape on the inside as an inner base where we can place the fabric on. Once you've got both pieces made, you want to let them dry completely. After that, I spread some fabric glue onto the back piece first, and then I took a piece of the fabric I wanted to use, which also had a better stretch to it, and stretched this over the glue off the entire piece and tried to make it as smooth as possible. Once that's dry, you can gently peel away at the paper mache underneath. Once it's off, you can cut away the excess. Then repeat the process for the front piece. Then you want to cut a piece of cardstock for the inner sole. Mine was recycled since it won't be visible. And then you want to glue the 2 pieces onto it at the bottom. Since the fabric I'm using has a white backside, when you cut it, the sides kind of shows. Therefore I used an alcohol marker in a purple shade to kind of tone that down anywhere where I thought it might peek out. Now I can put the bottom piece onto the foot. Because there was a gap here where the 2 pieces didn't really meet the way I wanted them to, I added an extra piece of fabric to the bottom so to match. Now I can sew the 2 pieces together along the edge to connect them. Just be careful not to scrape it all. Next step is to make the bottom sole. I did this from Polymer clay again. I used black and I again traced the bottom of the shoes to get the right size, and I also traced out the heel and stacked these together and used the backside of a Glaze to make ridges. After baking and cooling, you want to glue the 2 bottom soles onto the bottom of the boots. The bottom soles is really one of the details that I think makes them look like proper boots that actually would function. I decided to take some ribbon that would match the zipper in the blue color and sew some simple bows and add these on top of the zippers. As the final detail, I added a bit of glaze to the sides of the Polymer clay soles just to make them shiny, and then the boots are done. And here we are, here's the finished boots. I really like how they turned out and I think they would be really cute for fall and winter outfits. If you have any other requests for clothing items you'd like to see me make a video on, please do leave them in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in a new one real soon. Bye!